for drugs that work on TB to work on MAP in vivo. I don't get it. I don't really understand. But that's the attitude of the clinicians, and what we're doing is empirically treating people with things that ought to work, but we need to find things that do work, and that do work efficiently and effectively in animal models. So the real question is this any longer the right question? Are we beyond this at this point? Is there sufficient evidence that we can gather together and take to public health authorities to say the meat and milk producers of the world need your advice? Is this disease a public health problem, or is it just an animal health problem? If it's an animal health problem, then each producer of bulk food product gets to decide, based on economics, what they're going to do about that animal problem, and it will be their decision. But if it's a human problem and a public health issue, it becomes a bigger problem for us all, including them, the producers, and we need to give them guidance on what to do. Is this an issue? Is it not an issue? How big an issue is it? And what do you need to do to help us control the public health issues that result excuse me, from MAP infection of animals? So that's it. Sorry.
All right, thank you, Carol. I don't want to take up too much of the IIP meeting, but I hope we could have a couple of questions from the audience, some reflections. I'd still like to know what we're supposed to do before the next ICP meeting. Get a diagnostic, biomarker.
Any of the above.
Okay, any questions, anybody? Okay, three in the front, and then you all be next.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great presentation. Just love it. Can you comment on genetic susceptibility to TB and how this somewhat correlates with what we find in Crohn's disease?
Carol, could you comment on the genetic susceptibility of human tuberculosis and whether or not it overlaps with any of the genetic susceptibility loci identified for Crohn's disease?
I think I suspect that it doesn't overlap a lot, but actually I'm not the person to answer this.
I'm speaking for Erwin Scher, who I share lab meetings with on Friday afternoons, and he's a human geneticist. So he's found loci that are involved in human genetic susceptibility to leprosy, such as Parkin and ICP and lymphotoxin A8. NRAM is involved in human tuberculosis susceptibility, and to my knowledge, these leprosy and TB susceptibility loci have not been shown to be important in Crohn's disease. If we were to flip the other way around and look at Crohn's loci, the autophagy genes are ATG16L1 and IRGM are very important in Crohn's disease. They've not been shown in a candidate gene approach to be important in human TB or leprosy, but murine studies clearly implicate autophagy and LRG47, which is the mouse ortholog in mycobacterial susceptibility. Regarding NOD2, to my knowledge, there's been two studies in humans. One did not find an association, but more importantly, in South Africa where it was conducted, they didn't find the polymorphisms to be able to see if there was an association. So some people say that it did not find an association. In fact, the frameshift allele that's associated with Crohn's disease is not observed in South Africa. And the other study from Jim Musser's group did show an association between NOD2 polymorphisms and tuberculosis. So more needs to be done, and I think there's as Carol suggested, that TB can instruct MAP and maybe MAP can instruct TB. I think there's room to use the genetics of these different diseases to inform studies in a candidate gene approach. But I would just be pretending to be paraphrasing what Erwin would say right now. That's correct. Yeah, I don't do human genetics.
Clinical disease associated with a genetic susceptibility profile. Are there similarities between Crohn's disease and TB or leprosy?
Well, Erwin will tell me that anywhere from 70 to 90% of people with TB infection do not get TB disease. Therefore, TB disease is the abnormal outcome of TB infection, and therefore it's the host that is the only thing that matters to him. Now, whether the host is genetic required and whether it's Mendelian susceptibility, things like IL-12 gamma interferon, or whether it's a more complex inheritance. Those are the kinds of things that human geneticists spend their evenings in Parisian cafes talking about. I haven't been able to penetrate that conversation yet. There was a question in there, and then